Om Namo Devaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you very much for joining. And we'd like to seek your good wishes and your blessings so that we can continue with going through the 10th canto, chapter 27 out of 90 chapters. So, we're nearly a third of the way there. So, in this chapter, it's a very nice verse, number 7, which Jayanti is going to, wait a minute, done this before, haven't we?
Yeah, 27 we've done.
Okay,
28.
so sorry, false alarm. We're going to do chapter 28. Yeah. Okay, chapter 28 it is. Go for it.
Shivarun Uvacha Adyami Nirmito Deho Adya Parto Adhikata Prabho Tvatpada Bhajo Bhagavan Avapu Param Atvanaha. Shivarun said, now my body has fulfilled its function. Indeed, now the goal of my life is achieved, O Lord. Those who accept your lotus feet or personality of Godhead can transcend the path of material existence.
Okay, so Varun Dev's prayers is a very interesting chapter. Krishna rescues Nand Maharaj from the abode of Varun. This chapter describes how Lord Krishna brought Nand Maharaj back from the abode of Varun. Varun Dev, and how the cowherd man also saw Vaikuntha. So the king of the cowherds, who is Nanda Maharaj himself, observed the prescribed fast on Agyaras, Ikadashi. And then considering how to finish his fast properly on the 12th day, he circumambulated, there's a time when this fast should be finished, but still some time was remaining. So he thought, let me take a bath, very, very end of the night. Now, astrologically, this is not a good time to take a bath. It's like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. So it's supposed to be that time. You're not supposed to really disturb water, jal, by taking a bath especially. So anyway, he entered the water of the Yamuna at that time, and a servant of Varun, Varun is in charge of Jal, water, he's demigod of ocean. So this servant of Varun's, he noticed Nanda Maharaj entering the water at a time forbidden by scripture. And he took him away, kidnapped him basically, to the abode of Varun Dev. And that is in the ocean. In the early morning, the cowherd men, they could not find Nanda Maharaj. They were searching for him. Of course, Lord Krishna, he understood the situation immediately. And he was also missing his father, of course. He didn't see him in the morning. So he assessed the situation and he knew what happened. So he went to see Varun. Varun was very fortunate. He understood the position of Krishna. He immediately accepted Krishna with great and variegated festivity. And he also begged forgiveness for the action of his servant of foolishly arresting Nanda Maharaj. And Varun Dev said to Krishna, O seer of everything, please give your mercy even to me, O Govinda. You are most affectionate to your father. Please take him home. So he was very happy to see Lord Krishna. He was also a little disturbed that the circumstances in which Krishna came to him were a bit unfortunate. Krishna's father being kidnapped or arrested. So he was very sorry, but at the same time, he was very happy and he worshipped Krishna. So Varun is actually highly elevated devata. So this is a very nice painting which illustrates the position of what happened this past time. This is Nand Maharaj, this is Varun there, this is the servant of Krishna who arrested Nand Maharaj, this is Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Nand Maharaj was bathing early in Yamuna at an inauspicious time. His servants of Varun, they arrested him, brought him before Varun. When he was taken, Nand called out to Krishna and Balaram. They came to Varun. Oh, this must be Balaram then. So, sorry, just check that. Yeah, that might be Balaram. Okay. They came to Varun, who received them with respect. He apologized for arresting Nand Maharaj, and thanked Krishna for his darshan, worshipped him, stating that his life is now successful, that he has seen Krishna. So the lesson to learn from this is the devatas, no matter how elevated they are, they worship Krishna. So Krishna was at that time 7 years, 2 months, and 18 days old when this pastime happened. So very young. Nand Maharaj had been astonished to see for the first time the great opulence of Varun, the ruler of the ocean planet. And also to see how Varun and his servants had offered such humble respect to Krishna. He was amazed to see the influence Krishna exerted in the court of Varun Dev. And after returning home, he described his experiences to his friends and relatives. They all thought Krishna must be the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. And they wanted to see his supreme abode. So finally, the penny dropped, not for long, because Krishna doesn't want the Gopas, the cowherd men, to have this awe and reverence towards him. He just wants to be treated as one of their own. But Krishna, the Supreme Omniscient Personality of Godhead, arranged for them to bathe in the same lake where Akrur would have his vision of the absolute truth. There, the Lord revealed to them the spiritual world, which is realized by great sages in their mystic trance. Nand Maharaj and the other cowherd men felt the greatest happiness when they saw that transcendental abode. They were especially amazed to see Krishna himself there, surrounded by the personified Vedas who were offering him prayers. So this is really incredible. They actually had darshan of the spiritual world. Krishna gave them that darshan. Nanda was amazed that Varun was worshipping his child, Krishna. He could understand that Varun had to worship Krishna because he is Supreme Lord. Rather, he took it that because Krishna was such a wonderful child, he had been respected even by Varun. So it wasn't that, Nanda Maharaj also had a thought that, no, this isn't the Supreme. This is Krishna. He's even worshipped by Varun because he's such a beautiful boy. Not that he's a Supreme Lord. But actually, the cowherd men became eager to know if Krishna was actually Supreme Personality of Godhead, and if he was going to give them all salvation. When they all consulted amongst themselves, Krishna understood their minds, and in order to assure them of their destiny in the spiritual world, he showed them the spiritual sky. This is really wonderful pastime. So next week, I was thinking we're going to struggle a little bit, continue with the Bhagavatam because it's quite a busy time. So we've covered this before, but I don't think we recorded it. So I'd like to actually go through the spiritual material worlds again, and this time we'll record it so that we've got it for future reference. Hope that's okay with the devotees. So any questions from chapter 28? Otherwise, we'll move on to chapter 29. Okay. I'm going to have an attempt at this chapter 20. Yeah, go on. I did it especially for you, this one. So chapter 29, text 37, a glorious verse about Lakshmi Devi, her position.
Laptvapi vakshasi padam kila prityajustam yashyo svaviksham utanya surarapayasas tadvat vayam cha tava paraja prapanaha. Goddess Lakshmi, whose glance is sought after by the demigods with great endeavor, has achieved the unique position of always remaining on the chest of her Lord Narayan. Still, she desires the dust of his lotus feet, even though she has to share that dust with Tulsi Devi, and indeed with the Lord's many other servants. Similarly, we have approached the dust of the lotus feet for shelter.
So this is the gopis describing the position of Lakshmi Devi. She's got the chest of Narayan, but she still wants the lotus feet of Krishna. One and the same person, but yeah, there's still a difference between the two. This is almost inconceivable to understand. So this is where we begin the section of Ras Leela. And this is, of course, forbidden to go into unless we've done the first 9 cantos, which luckily we have. Still, we're probably not very qualified to go through this, but seeking the blessings of Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, who's very kindly given us this Bhagavatam, we'll make a small endeavor to try to understand these very confidential pastimes of Krishna and the gopis, his most dear devotees. This chapter describes how Lord Sri Krishna, intending to enjoy the Ras dance, engaged in arguments and counter-arguments with the gopis. Then there's a description of the beginning of the Ras dance and the Lord's pastime of disappearing from the midst of the gopis. Krishna plays his flute, remembering the promise he had made to the gopis when he had stolen their clothes. Lord Krishna employed his Yogamaya potency and manifested within himself the desire to enjoy pastimes during an autumn night. He's Atma Rama. He's self-satisfied. He doesn't need to enjoy these pastimes. He's already satisfied in himself. But Yoga Maya, his potency, but she's also has special purpose to increase the Lord's joy. And she does that by invoking this desire to dance with the gopis. So when Krishna saw the rising moon of autumn smearing the eastern horizon with a reddish hue and the blooming lotuses, he began to play his flute, thus attracting the minds of the beautiful-eyed gopis. So this is a classic picture or painting where Krishna is playing the flute to attract the hearts and the minds of the gopis. What do the gopis do when they hear the flute sound? I think especially is it the 6th note. The impulses of Cupid were violently aroused within them, and they immediately abandoned all their household duties and hastily went to Krishna. Some of the gopis, they were milking the cows when they heard Krishna's flute. Some left milk curdling on the stove, and others left cakes burning in the oven. They abandoned everything. Some of them were getting dressed, feeding milk to their infants. Some of them were rendering personal service to their husbands, but they gave up all these duties. Other gopis were taking their evening meals, washing themselves, putting on cosmetics, or applying kajal to their eyes. But all the gopis stopped these activities at once when they heard this sixth note of Krishna's flute. And although their clothes and ornaments were in complete disarray, they rushed off to Krishna. It's described that some of them had the clothes upside down. When Krishna called the gopis by sounding his flute, they very hurriedly rushed towards the spot of the Ras dance with the transcendental desire to satisfy Krishna, leaving their respective engagements. Their faces were decorated hurriedly and were haphazardly finished. Some even put the lower part of their clothes on the upper part of their bodies and the upper part on the lower part. So we can see here, there's Krishna playing the flute, and the gopis just gone statically mad, and they're running towards him. We have to understand that the gopis are not mundane personalities. This wasn't just mundane love for the Supreme Lord. They're purely spiritual. All the gopis had pure spiritual bodies. So it's very, very important to understand. They're not in this world. They're not from this world. They're from the spiritual world. So these pastimes are not mundane pastimes between boy and girl. But when some of the gopis' husbands and other family members stopped the young gopis from going, Lord Krishna arranged for them to temporarily exit material bodies. So temporarily they exhibited material bodies, which they then left at the side of their husbands. And with their spiritual bodies, they went to Krishna. In this way, they deceived their relatives and went off to meet Krishna. Very interesting. Very interesting. So then, Parikshit Maharaj questions Sukadeva Goswami. He asked how the gopis who knew Krishna only as their lover, not as a supreme absolute truth, can free themselves from material attachments and get liberated. Very good question. Interesting question. Because they didn't know the philosophy. They didn't know that Krishna is a supreme person, that we're supposed to surrender to him and do everything for him. They naturally did it. But they knew him as their lover. They didn't know him as supreme. So very important question. How could they get liberated if they didn't know him? Sukadeva Goswami replied that point was explained to the king previously. Right? He already explained this. Even when Shishupal, who hated Krishna, he achieved perfection. So what to speak of the Lord's dear devotees? So Shishupal also didn't know Krishna was supreme. Yet he got perfection, even though he hated Krishna. So what to speak of those who love Krishna? They may not know him, they may know him. It doesn't matter. The Lord is neutral. He will give himself to those who are always thinking of it. Whether it's positive or negative, it doesn't matter. The Supreme Lord is inexhaustible and immeasurable, untouched by material modes, because he is their controller of the material modes. Persons who constantly direct their lust, anger, fear, protective affection, feeling of impersonal oneness or friendship towards Lord Hari are sure to become absorbed in thought of him who liberates them. So this is really interesting. Very nice conversation between Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami, where Parikshit Maharaj is questioning, how is this possible? So this is really, it's important because many people doubt. So these questions are asked to solve or help the people who have the doubting Thomases. So then what happened? When gopis came before Lord Krishna, he asked them, why have you come? It is not good for you to travel to such a place in the dead of the night, for this forest is full of violent creatures. Your husbands and children will soon come, searching after you to bring you home and engage you again in your household duties. So perhaps you have come here out of love for me. That's really good, since all beings have natural affection for me. After all, the prime religious duty of a woman, however, is to serve her husband and children. For a respectable woman to consort with a paramour is totally contemptible and sure to obstruct her progress to heaven. So he's mocking them somewhat, testing them. Moreover, one develops pure love for me, not by physical proximity, but by hearing topics connected with me, by viewing my deity form in the temple, by meditating upon me, by faithfully chanting my glories. Therefore, all of you would do best to return home, as there is no need for you to be in my personal presence. Sure. So he played the flute to attract them. They came, dropping everything at whatever cost. And now he's telling them, go back home. It's really cheeky. So this is the conversation between them. Krishna's in the middle of the night, playing his flute. The gopis there. Oh, ladies of Vrindavan, you are very dear to me. I am very pleased that you have come here. What can I do for you? What is the purpose of your coming here in the dead of night? Kindly take your seats and let me know what I can do for you. The gopi said,
You are very cruel. You should not talk like that. We are full-fledged, surrendered souls. Please accept us. Of course, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and can do whatever you like.
so lesson from this, a very nice lesson. We can pray with our heart and the Lord will accept our prayers. Sometimes you might feel, oh, he's not listening or he's not doing what I would like to do for him. I'd like to serve him in this way. He's not listening that way. But actually he is listening. Sometimes he might test us. The gopis became morose and felt great anxiety after hearing this from Krishna. Their heads hanging down, the gopis scratched the ground with their toes. Tears flowed from their eyes. They stood silently, bearing the burden of their unhappiness. And then, having given up everything for Krishna, they replied with agitation. The gopis didn't mince their words.
It is very unfair for you to reject young girls who have abandoned everything in their lives and come to you with the exclusive desire to serve you. By serving our husbands and children, we receive only pain, whereas by serving you, the dearest soul of all living beings, we will perfectly fulfill the true religious duty of the self. How can we go back to Braj? What would we do there? What woman will not deviate from her prescribed duties as soon as she hears your flute song, sees your form, which enchants the three worlds? Just as the Supreme Lord Vishnu protects the demigods, you destroy the unhappiness of the people of Vrindavan. To approach your lotus feet, we abandon our families and homes. We have no desire other than to serve you. Our hearts are burning with intense desires generated by your beautiful smiling glances. O jewel among men, please make us your maidservants. Therefore, you should immediately relieve the torment we have felt because of separation from you.
So this is also called the Pranaya Gita, as the begging plea of the Lord, of the gopis to the Lord. And these verses, actually, we can chant them like Karuna does, beautifully chant them. So, Karuna, would you like to chant these verses? 10, 29.
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhu.
Okay, let me find it. Yikes, this is going to be fun. 10, 29, 31. Okay. 1 second. Thank you, Karuna, by the way. You always meet the challenge.
Thanks to you, Prabhu. No mercy.
No, I don't think so. You're amazing. 10, 29, and then 31. Oh, page not found. How do you equip this? 10, 29. Let's try 10, 29. Oh, I know. Okay. There we go.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Gopya Maivam vibhorati bhavan daditum nishamsam santyajya sarva vishayams tava padamulam bhakta bhajasva durava grahamatya devo yatadi purusho bhajate mumukshum. Yatpatyapatya manuvrittiranga Srinam swadharma iti dharma vidatvayoktam Astvevam etanupadeshpade tvaishe Preshto bhavam sanubhritam kila bandhuratma kuruvanti hi tvairatim kushala swa atman nitya priye pati sutadibhir artidayatim तन्नः प्रसीद परमेश्वर मास्मच्छिन्द्या आशां धृतां त्वयि चिरादरविन्दनेत्र चितं सुखेन भवता परिहृतं गृहेषु यन्निर्विशत्युतकरावपि गृह्यकृत्ये पादौ पदं न चलतस्तव पादमूलात् यामः कथं व्रजं मतो करवाम किं वा सिञ्चाङ्गनस्त्वदरात्मृतपूरकेन हसावलोककलगिता जरिच्चयाग्निं न चोद्भयं विरहज्ञानीयुपायुक्तदेहा ध्यानेन यामपदयो पदवीं सखेते यदयम्बुजाक्ष तव पादतलं रमाया दत्तक्षणं क्वचिदरण्यजनप्रियस्य अस्प्राक्ष्मतत्प्रभृति नान्यसमक्षं मञ्जः स्थातुं स्वत्वयाभिरमिता बत पारयामः श्रीयत्पदाम्बुजरजश्चकमेतुलस्या
Can't hear anybody.
Okay, we've lost Karuna. I think the internet connection might be a little tricky, but we come back to this, no problem. She'll come back in a minute. Amazing though, she's doing so amazing. So these are the verses, 12 verses, 11 verses, which the gopis sing to Krishna, begging him that don't do this. Upon hearing the gopis, Krishna smiled, and wanting to please the gopis, he, who is always satisfied in himself, responded to their pleas by playing with them in various pastimes. As the gopis sang his glories, he loudly sang in return. Krishna went with the gopis to the bank of the Yamuna, where the sand was cooling and the wind bore the fragrance of lotuses. So this is like an idea. Okay. Oh, Karuna, you're back. So shall we carry on? Okay.
Yes,
Very good.
Prabhu, internet issues again.
Yeah,
I take from
nice.
37 again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you nicely.
Okay. श्रीर्यत्पदाम्बुजरजश्चकमे तुलस्या लब्ध्वापि वक्षसि पदं किल भृत्यजुष्टम् यस्यास्ववीक्षण
We lost you again. Internet issue again. That's okay, no worries. Are you okay? She's still out. She's still out, I think. Let's go to. So this is. Oh, Karuna, you're back again. Can you hear us, Karuna?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, so we lost you again. Let's give you another shot. This is obviously
Okay,
a very
I'll
important, obviously a very important verse. Actually, we did this very verse at the beginning, so very good. Try again.
Okay, 37. श्रीर्यत्पदाम्बुजरजश्चकमे तुलस्या लब्ध्वापि वक्षसि पदं किल भृत्यजुष्टम् यस्याः स्ववीक्षण उतान्यसूरप्रयासस्तत्त्वपवयं च तव पादरज प्रपन्ना तन्न प्रसीद वृजिनार्दन ते अङ्घ्रिमूलान् प्राप्ता विसृज्य वसति त्वदुपासनाशः त्वत्सुन्दरस्मितनिरीक्षण तीव्रकाम तप्तात्मनां पुरुष भूषण देहि दस्याम्.
Can you hear? We can't hear you.
Yeah,
oh, yes.
I'm back again.
Okay.
Back.
Okay, good.
39.
Yes.
विख्यालकावृतमुखं तव कुन्दलश्री गन्धस्थलाधरसुधं हसितावलोकम् दत्ताभयं च भुज दन्दयुगं विलोक्य वक्षः श्रियैकरमणं च भवामदास्यः का स्त्रियङ्गते कलपदायत वेणुगीत सम्मोहितार्यचरितान् न चले त्रिलोक्याम् त्रैलोक्य सौभगमिदं च निरीक्ष्य रूपं यद् गोद्विजद्रुममृगा पुलकान्यभिभ्रान् व्यक्तं भवान् व्रज भयातिर्हरो अभिजातो देवो यथादिपुरुषः सूरलोकगोप्ता तन्नो निदेहि करपङ्कजम् आर्तबन्धो तप्तस्तनेषु च शिरसु च किङ्कारिणा.
I think that's it. Well done. That was amazing,
Hare
Karuna.
Krishna. Pranaya Gita ki jai.
Yay. Thank you so much. Fantastic. Amazing. Very, very good.
Thank you.
So this is the Rasa. So after that wonderful prayer, Krishna obliged because he knows the heart of the devotees. That the prayers were so sincere, and he fulfills the desire of the devotees. So he wanted to fulfill the desire of the devotees. And he also wanted to enjoy the company of the gopis in the Ras dance. This is part of the Yoga Maya influence of Krishna. The Ras dance and Lord Krishna associated with gopis appear like the ordinary mixing of young boys and girls. Now remember, he's only 7 years old, or maybe he was 8 at this time. The 8-year-old boys don't have such feelings, lusty feelings. So this is, even in the mundane sense, there's no lusty feelings. But this is anyway spiritual. The dancing of young boys and girls within the material world is in the kingdom of Mahamaya, or the external energy. The Ras dance of Krishna with the gopis is on the platform of Yogamaya. The difference is that on Mahamaya platform, dance takes place on the basis of sense enjoyment, gratification, of lust. Whereas the gopis' interaction with Krishna is on the spiritual platform of love. And the big lesson to here learn from this is pastimes of Krishna are completely spiritual. There's no mundane contamination that we see in the material world between men and women. It doesn't exist because Krishna is pure spirit, gopis are pure spiritual beings, and that's the level of their relationship. It's on a spiritual basis. Any questions, any comments before we go on to the instructions? And I think these are instructions from yesterday. Anybody, any questions, any comments? Okay. Kamakshi, if Madhusudan Prabhu is not there? Yeah.
No, he hasn't come back yet. So
Okay, go for it. Go for it.
I'll read it. Hopefully, I'll be able to pronounce what he has left for me.
That's okay.
Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Instruction so far for Canto 10, Chapter 26. Purport to verse 21 is so wonderful in relation to our current situations and to what Gargamuni said to Narad Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada has especially indicated in this connection that just as Lord Krishna's associates could not be defeated by Kans, so his modern day devotee will not be defeated by their demoniac opponents, nor will the Lord's devotees be defeated by the internal enemies, the lusty, the materialistic senses. Chapter 27, from this comment in the purport, Lord Krishna ordered Indra to return to his proper position in heaven and to serve there without egoism. Indra, along with the cow Surabhi, then performed a bathing ceremony for Kans using the water of the heavenly Ganges and the milk of Mother Surabhi. Indra and the cow took this opportunity to bestow upon the Lord the name Govinda, and the demigod showered flowers and recited various prayers. Srila Prabhupada instructs us to also serve without ego and worship cows, Gomata, and glorify Govinda. Hare Krishna, Govinda ki jai. Even
Yeah.
Krishna Maharaj always wanted us to worship the cows. So think of Maharaj too. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Very good. Hare Krishna. So thank you so much, everybody. Let's just end the recording. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.